The ceremonial hall of the Kethmaran Empire stretched before them like a cathedral of conquest, its obsidian walls adorned with the preserved skulls of 100 subjugated species. Ambassador Veltar of the Nexari Collective felt his chitinous exoskeleton vibrate with barely contained terror as he knelt alongside representatives from dozens of other worlds, all waiting for their audience with Warlord Krexthul the Bone Renderer. The ritual was always the same. Each delegation would prostrate themselves before the towering Kethmaran overlord, present their tribute and beg for mercy that rarely came. Those who failed to show proper deference found their homeworlds reduced to radioactive glass within the cycle. Next, rumbled the voice of the Warlord's herald, a cybernetically enhanced Vorthak whose natural vocal cords had been replaced with subspace transmitters that made every word feel like a physical blow. The human delegation stepped forward. Veltar's compound eyes tracked their movement with fascination and growing dread. He had heard whispers about the humans, a young species that had somehow managed to avoid conquest for nearly 3 standard years, an unprecedented feat that had begun to worry even the Kethmaran High Command. But looking at their representative now, Veltar couldn't understand how. The human was unremarkable by galactic standards, medium height, bipedal, no natural weapons or armor. The creature, Marcus Chen, according to the diplomatic briefings, wore a simple dark suit that seemed almost absurdly formal given the circumstances. His species' pale skin showed no signs of the ritual scarification that most subjugated peoples adopted to show their submission. Most puzzling of all, his mouth was curved upward in what Veltar recognized as a human expression of amusement. "Approach the throne of Krexthul the Bone Renderer," the herald commanded, his words shaking dust from the ancient ceiling. "Kneel and present your tribute to the master of 1,000 worlds." The other humans in Chen's delegation, military officers, judging by their bearing, remained standing behind a line of crimson light that marked the supplicant's boundary. But Chen himself walked forward alone, his hands clasped behind his back, whistling what sounded like an old Terran melody. Warlord Krexthul himself was a monument to conquest, standing nearly 4 meters tall. His carapace was a patchwork of bioengineered armor and ceremonial bones harvested from his enemies. 6 arms ending in razor-sharp talons gestured lazily as he spoke, each movement casual enough to decapitate a dozen beings. "Human," Krexthul's voice was like grinding stone, amplified by the hall's acoustics until it seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Your species has been elusive, but all rivers flow to the sea and all worlds kneel to the Kethmaran Empire. You will present your tribute and formally surrender your homeworld as is proper." Chen stopped walking. The silence that followed stretched until Veltar could hear his own respiratory system cycling. Every other being in the hall had gone perfectly still, afraid to even breathe too loudly. Then impossibly, Chen began to laugh. It started as a quiet chuckle, barely audible above the hall's ambient hum. But it grew, echoing off the obsidian walls and the mounted skulls until it filled the entire space with rich, genuine mirth. The human was laughing like someone had just told him the most amusing joke he'd ever heard. "Silence," Krexthul roared, rising from his bone throne. "You dare mock the—" "Oh, I'm sorry," Chen said, wiping tears from his eyes as his laughter subsided. "It's just, did you really think we came here to surrender?" The Warlord's 6 arms spread wide, talons gleaming. "You are in my throne room, surrounded by my warriors on my flagship. Your pathetic world hangs defenseless in space while my fleet—" "Let me stop you right there," Chen interrupted, still smiling. He reached into his jacket pocket, causing every guard in the hall to tense. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out what appeared to be a small communication device. "Sarah? Yeah, it's Marcus. They're doing the whole kneel before me speech. I think we're good to go." Veltar felt his world shift as every screen in the throne room suddenly flickered to life. The displays showed space around the Kethmaran flagship, but something was wrong. The massive dreadnoughts that had escorted them here, ships each capable of glassing a continent, were listing dead in space. Their running lights were dark, their engines cold. What have you done?" Krexthul's voice had lost its imperious thunder. Chen pocketed the device and resumed walking toward the throne, his pace unhurried. "Well, first we had to solve a little problem. See, your empire runs on fear, right? The idea that resistance is futile, that you're too strong to fight. But that only works if it's true." The screen shifted, showing internal corridors of the Kethmaran ships. Human soldiers in advanced armor were moving through them with practiced efficiency, securing systems and taking prisoners. The Kethmoran crew wasn't even fighting back, they seemed to be surrendering en masse. Your fleets are impressive, Chen continued conversationally, but they have a fatal flaw. They're designed to intimidate primitive civilizations, not fight actual wars. Your weapons are big and flashy, but inefficient. Your armor is ceremonial. Your tactics haven't evolved in centuries because you've never needed them to. Krexthul lunged forward, all 6 arms extended. But before he could reach Chen, he stumbled, his massive form suddenly sluggish. The Warlord looked down in confusion at his own limbs. Nanoscale neural disruptors, Chen explained helpfully. Been in your atmosphere system for about 20 minutes now. Don't worry, it's not permanent, though I'd recommend against any sudden movements for the next hour or so. Guards throughout the hall were collapsing or moving like they were underwater. Only the delegation representative seemed unaffected. Chen pulled a small inhaler from his pocket and gestured with it. Antidote. We made sure to share. This is impossible, Krexthul wheezed, sinking back onto his throne. We have conquered galaxies. We are the masters of... You're bullies, Chen said simply, and for the first time his smile faded. You pick on civilizations that can't fight back, and you've been doing it so long you forgot what real warfare looks like. But humans... He shrugged. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've had to get creative. The screens now showed Kethmoran worlds across the Empire. On each one, human forces were arriving, not as conquerors but as liberators. Subjugated species were rising up, guided by human military advisors who had apparently been infiltrating Kethmoran space for months. The tribute you demanded? Chen reached into another pocket and pulled out a small data chip. Here it is. Names, locations, and evidence for every war crime your empire has committed in the last century. Should be enough to keep the Galactic Council's tribunals busy for decades. Veltar watched in amazement as Chen finally reached the base of the throne. He looked up at the paralyzed warlord with something that might have been pity. Your empire is finished, Krexthul. Not destroyed, we're not like you, but finished. Your fleets are captured, your worlds are free, and your government is going to face justice. Chen turned to address the hall full of stunned representatives. You're all free to go home, by the way. The humans will provide escorts to make sure you get there safely. As Chen walked back toward his delegation, Veltar found his voice. Human, why did you laugh? Chen paused and looked back with that same amused smile. Because he asked me to kneel. The human shook his head. Buddy, my species spent 10,000 years learning to stand up. We're not about to stop now. The last thing Veltar heard as the humans departed was Chen resuming his whistling, the melody echoing cheerfully through the tomb-like silence of what had once been the most feared throne room in the galaxy.